Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. We hope you're having a great day. Hey, our Philippine journey. Let's talk about things that are relevant to those of you that are going to retire, want to be an expat, are going to stay in your home country, or are an expat. And that is, what's the biggest common risk factor all of you face? In other words, every one of you, no matter which one, you face this one common risk. And it is something you might be a little bit surprised about. But you know what? Let's talk about it.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
Okay, so yes, it's been 2 months since we put out a video. We've been gone, we've been traveling, my daughter was here, we were out of the country, we went to various places, she left, Arlen's family came to stay. It's been busy. And in addition to that, I told you previously we were making some changes to the channel. We are not going to cover the basic stuff any longer here in the Philippines. There are 1,000 people that are blogging about where to get a visa, how to get a visa, how to renew your visa, how to find a girlfriend. I mean, some of this stuff we couldn't even begin to tell you anyways. I couldn't begin to tell you how to have a relationship, how to cope with a long distance relationship. There are so many things that everybody's covering, and it is presented over and over and over. It's rinse, wash, repeat. All right, or wash, rinse, repeat. You know what? We'll leave that up to them. There are plenty of good channels. There's plenty of misinformation out there also. So we'll just have to let you do your own. I guess the best word for that is research. However, when it comes to retiring as an expat, when it comes to retirement, period, what is the one common thing that you will face, that everybody will face, yet we don't really look into it that much? I'll tell you what it is. It's the unknown. In other words, and try and deal with me here for a minute with respect to what do I mean by the unknown. You can't know about this. I'm not talking about the predictable. I'm not talking about things that you would predict that could happen. All right? I'm talking about things you haven't even thought about. Things that, because of the rapidly changing world that we're in, and things because of the rapidly changing globalization and economies in your own country, you just wouldn't have seen or even thought about, or would have happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. For instance, will your wife leave you? Will your girlfriend steal your money? Will you get sick as an expat? Will this happen? Will that happen? Those are all risk factors, okay? Granted, they're all risk factors, but they're not unknowns. They're a risk factor that you can plan for, that you see other people have gone through. With that being said, what about the stuff that we're not talking about? The subject matter that so very few cover. And that's what we want to start looking at. We want to start looking at the globalization. Just to give you an idea, in the future, we're going to be talking about the impact of the rapidly changing global politics on expats, and it is having a big impact, and it is forming up. All right, the cashless society and tech bifurcation. All right, you know something? That one should scare you more than anything. The cashless society. All right, emerging markets are forcing unprecedented change in immigration laws. Absolutely, we have seen immigration laws change rapidly and drastically in multiple safe haven expat destinations. All right, the geopolitical conflicts in the Eastern Europe and the Middle East, coupled with the fluctuating global trade tariffs. Well, how do they affect you? You know what? In a bigger and future manner than you could think. The direction and impact of laws in your country. Um, that's a huge one. Especially take a look at the democratic socialist agenda in the U.S. Are you really kidding me? Um, I want you to, and I will say this. I will say this. I'm not picking on any countries whatsoever, but I love to watch Britain because I think it's a perfect example of the direction the U.S. is going, and I think it's a perfect example of what not to do. I mean, I don't knock Britain. I think it's a great country. I'm sure there are many beautiful things, but let's face it, um, it has big issues. Andy Burnham, who just came in as I think the 10th or 7th prime minister in the last 10 years or something like that. I mean, they go through them like like beers there, I guess. Um, he is a socialist. He has a socialist agenda. Um, you know, is that what's happening? I mean, look at Mamdani in New York City. I mean, all of these things matter. All of them play a role, and we're going to take a look at these things. Now, we're also going to be following, you know, here we go with the rates and the cost of Brent. You know, right now we're at 61.71 pesos. Now, these are not live. All right, I'm not going to lie to you. These are mid-tier international spot rates as of about 45 minutes prior to this video. Um, but 61.71. People gave me a ration of shit 2 years ago when I said next year we're going to hit 61 pesos to the dollar. All right? Am I going to, how far are we from hitting 62? Um, hmm. Big deal. The Canadian dollar dropping. The Australian dollar, it's gone up actually, I think, pretty much. But, 48, 43. I don't follow these very closely, but from you in your country, you would follow them. The euro, the British pound. And then finally, the cost of Brent oil. All right, Brent oil, anything above 70 is a problem. And now we're at 88. Although 70 US dollars to the barrel is one thing, it's not so bad. But above that, and we tend to think and argue that, hey, you know what? We don't need oil, Brent oil. We have more than enough in America. Yeah, but do you realize and recognize how many products need oil to be manufactured abroad that are brought into the U.S.? All right, the trade deficits and everything that goes with it. These are the things that we're going to be talking about in the future. So I want you to do a couple of different things here. The first one is I'm using a new microphone. Tell me how it sounds on your end. How is the sound? Number two, the format. We've changed it up a little bit. Is it too busy for you? I've got this view outside our balcony looking across Angeles City. But and you can see the clouds are starting to roll in a little bit. Uh, but is it too busy for you? Secondly, what do you think about the content? Because the one thing they tell you on YouTube is don't touch religion and politics. Well, it's a hobby for us, so we really don't care. All right, but don't you think that you should be aware of some of these things? I mean, just how much at risk do you realize that the socialist agenda in the United States is to end the Department of Immigration, to open up the borders, okay? That Social Security is something that's not worth saving, that um, uh, old age pensions in other countries, they're facing these same problems. What about disability? Okay? What about disability, Social Security disability? What about that? Do you not think that the next big direction of fraud investigation is going to be in Social Security disability? How many of people are out there on Social Security disability? So, if these topics and more actually interest you, then let me know. If these topics, looking at how laws are changing in America and how things are changing in the UK, tell us about your experiences. What do you see in that? How comfortable do you feel with your future, especially with the direction that your money is coming out of? Um, you know, we are going closer and closer to a cashless society. And that's going to make some major changes. Big, big changes. We're not that far from it. Thailand's even closer than everybody else is to it. So the U.S. is getting close. The U.K. is getting close. There are major ramifications here. So, with all of that being said, will you continue to watch the channel? Does it interest you? And if it does, would you be a new subscriber? Would you be somebody new to watch? I'm done with talking about YouTubers that don't know what they're talking about. I'm done talking about drama. I'm done talking about any of that crap. All right? Let the YouTubers that want to deal with that deal with that. We're going to continue down this route that we're happy with. Okay? It won't be as entertaining, but it will be informative. Because being an expat, that doesn't forgive you for being ignorant. You have got to keep an eye on where things are going. So tell us in the comments what you think. Let us know. And not, even if it's not even an expat, what about people that are retiring in general? What about the future that you've been building and you're 10 years away and all of a sudden you're seeing things shift in a very negative manner? I still think America is the greatest country on earth. I don't think any other country currently has the um, the ability to build for an individual to become something on their own as much as America does. But is that going to continue? What's going to happen with socialism? Is that really the direction we might be going? Do you think that's going to carry through? What about in the UK? What about in Britain? What about in Australia? There's so many different things at the tip of the iceberg here that people don't generally think about. It's an unknown because it's never happened. We've never seen them cut Social Security. We've seen them increase it with cost of living increases, CPI increases. What's going to happen later? We're only a few years away from being to the point where we can't fund it at its current rate and obligations. Is it political suicide for a president or a political party to cut it? I don't know. What else do you want to talk about? In the comments, let us know. Let us know exactly what you think. What do you think about the channel's layout? What do you think about everything that goes along with it? And based on that, I think we'll have a hard look at continuing in this direction. So, thank you so much. Please do subscribe, hit that thumbs up. It really helps the algorithm, and have a great day.